It's finally happened. The event to make me delete that stupid rando whatever app. I dealt with a weird dead-end road by the side of a railway, a creepy house with eyes painted all over it, and even a crazy guy with a very convincing bird call. But this is my last straw. This morning, I was bored to hell and back and decided to try out the app for the first time in a couple months. I pressed the little buttons, not really caring what it gave me, and eventually some coordinates popped up hovering over a patch of woods. Obviously, I'm not putting the coordinates here, not super interested in doxing myself and extremely not interested in sending anybody else into this mess I've found. But I did write them down for myself. So after a few hours of hyping myself up and getting the regular essentials in my car, I headed out just past noon. The location was about an hour's drive, and I quickly realized most of this trip would be walking. After parking my car on the side of a relatively safe back road, I secured my bag and started on my way into the woods. Now, I'm no wimp when it comes to walking through forests, so I easily made my way around the untamed roots and overgrown grass. I kept my phone up as the GPS led the way towards what I was expecting to be absolutely nothing. I did also do all the precautions, texted friends my location and what to do if they didn't hear from me in the next 12 hours, I had means of defending myself, etc., etc.
What I ended up finding was a clearing placed kind of awkwardly near the coordinates location. Looking back, I don't think the app was even leading me to the house. It just happened to also be there. Right in the center of that clearing stood the cleanest house I have ever seen in a forest. And I do mean a house, not a cabin, but a middle-class, cookie-cutter suburban neighborhood house. Surrounding the house, in maybe a 20-foot radius, was this huge patch of just dirt, which met right up against the otherwise unkempt forest grass. I walked up to the dirt, honestly a little less interested in the house and more drawn to the wooden sign stuck in the ground just past the threshold. It was a list of rules, all printed in red against the birchwood planks, and at the top it read, "If you'd like to enter the house, please follow these rules." These were the rules. Rule 1. Your knock must be musical in some manner before you enter. Rule 2. Do not eat anything. Rule 3. The house is free to explore until the clock reads 7:15. After the clock chimes 7 times, you have 15 minutes to either leave or sit and wait for your host. Underneath that rule, crushed between those words and the words of the following printed rule, was a statement scrawled in chalk: "Leave out the back door." Rule 4. Your host will greet you. You must respond in kind. Rule 5. Please do not be rude. Rule 6. Your room is upstairs, second door on the right. Rule 7. You may leave upon the next chime of 7.
Now, I found this weird, obviously. My first thought was that this was some forgotten sideshow set, but why would it be so clean? And I mean clean. When I had gotten closer to it, it became increasingly clear that there was no dirt on the walls of the house. The roof looked freshly laid, not a leaf anywhere. The concrete of the porch seemed power-washed, and because I have very little restraint over my curiosity, I went up to the door. In several long strides, I walked over that 20 feet of packed dirt and up the 3 steps to the porch. A rocking chair was the only furniture up there with me, creaking back and forth in the breeze, facing off in the direction I had come from. I focused on the door again. It was a pale blue color and, like everything else, was clean as a whistle, right down to the brass handle. Above the door was a simple wooden sign with "Home of Mr. March" carved into it. Below was a doormat. "Welcome, weary traveler," it said up to me. My fingers were already brushing the handle in an unconscious action when the rules rang loudly in my mind. Slowly, I took my hand back and just looked at the pale blue wood. I wouldn't really have thought twice about that sign if it wasn't for the chalk scrawled on it. The writing had seemed frantic, I guess, almost too serious for what I thought was just weird attraction at the time. I figured, what the hell, and played along. The only musical knock I knew was shave and a haircut, so I rapped that against the wood. After the ending 2 knocks echoed into the house, the porch light flickered on, and I heard a record player start up inside. With a bit of hesitation, I opened the door. The hinges didn't even squeak as the inside was revealed to me. I felt like I was being pranked or something. It looked like somebody had taken a dollhouse and shaken it around. First off, there was a grandfather clock not even 2 feet away from the door. I might have jumped, not gonna lie. Gently stepping around that, I checked out the rest of the first floor. The living room had a park bench instead of a couch, placed facing away from the mounted television. The dining room and kitchen were made up in a similar way. The most notable thing in either being the toilet propped up next to a counter like a step stool. And just like the outside, everything was spotless. There were pictures hung up on the wall and placed on end tables, but they were all frames still filled with stock photos. I could hear that record player music the entire time I was wandering around. It was just the same weird calliope music on repeat, but I couldn't find the player. The music just seemed to exist in the space with me. When I turned to check out the stairs, I saw that the grandfather clock had turned to face me, its clock face slowly ticking away the time. Choosing to ignore it for the moment, I moved past it to stand at the base of the stairs. They at least had looked normal. And on the second-to-last step before me was a basket with a note written in neat calligraphy. "You must be hungry. Have a bite." In the basket was an array of candy bars. I ignored it and went up the stairs. I never reached the top. Every step I took only seemed to make the second floor move further and further away, so I decided to cut my losses and return to the ground floor. Luckily, I did, but off to the side of the landing was that clock, and as soon as my foot touched the final step, it began to chime. The arrowed hands looked down at me, the longer on the 12 and the shorter at 7. I questioned my reality with each chime. I had definitely gotten here several hours ago, but this was the only hour the clock sang about. The air felt like it was constricting around me with each chime, making me lightheaded by the time the 7th ring echoed throughout the house. I had stood there, transfixed by that piece of furniture, until the final waves of noise died out somewhere upstairs. "You have 15 minutes to either leave or sit and wait for your host," I remember mumbling to myself as my eyes moved to the front door. My first thought then was of the sign and the chalk scrawling somebody had left who knows how long ago. My second thought was, it felt like the door was staring at me. There wasn't a window on the door, I don't think there was even a peephole, but I know when I'm being watched, and something was watching me on the other side of that plank of wood. I remember suddenly being in front of it. I don't remember taking the steps to do so, and I don't remember why I hadn't left by now, and leaning forward as if to open it. I heard breathing on the other side, more like panting, the sort of eager panting a dog makes after a long run and at the promise of water, heavy yet fast-paced. By that point, whatever reverie the clock or the house itself had put me under snapped, and I realized I didn't really want to wait around to see who my host was. I returned to the kitchen and looked at the back door. This door had a large window making up most of its structure, and I could see the dirt circle reaching out around the house with the forest beyond it. Seeing the sun behind the trees solidified the fact to me that somehow I had been there almost all day. I just simply couldn't fathom how. Maybe I was on those stairs for longer than it felt, or maybe I had stumbled on the most obvious fey trap in the world. Either way, I was leaving right then. The door opened with absolutely no resistance, and I immediately went down the concrete steps awaiting me right outside. But as I left, I felt something scrape at my ankle. I saw the culprit when my head jerked down in shock. A large, rather out-of-place nail sticking out of the doorframe had taken the pleasure of sticking itself into my skin. I didn't check until I was back at my car, but that nail had cut right through my jeans and left me with quite a bad gash just inches from my Achilles tendon.
When I left the door, making sure it was closed well behind me, I walked straight across the dirt, then started the slow walk around the house to return to where I had emerged from the woods. I kept the house in my peripheral, honestly a little worried that if I looked away for even a moment, the whole building would just disappear. Because of this course of action, I was able to glimpse the front door just as I got to the tree line. I caught the briefest hint of something ducking into the door before slamming it shut behind it. I was going to just walk back to my car, not wanting to hurt my ankle any further, but my caution was abandoned and my feet picked up into a run when I heard the angriest scream echo behind me. So, I'll say this one time and hope you take it to heart. If you see a pristine house in the middle of the woods, don't go near it.
Before you go, I really want to thank everyone for watching the 4th episode of the Null Narrations postcast. This video wouldn't be possible without Reddit user Null and Paranoid granting us permission to narrate their post from r/nosleep for your viewing pleasure. Thank you, Null and Paranoid. As always, please like and subscribe for more Reddit narrations. And if you have a scary or spooky story, or if you've had an unexplained or creepy encounter you would like to share, please let us know. Thanks again, everyone. And take care of yourself out there, or something else might do it for you.